Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. I'm your host, Jerred Moon. The Garage Gym Athlete Podcast is a result of my desire to build better humans, unequivocal coaches, and autonomous athletes. I've spent the last several years obsessing over program design, nutrition, and every other way you can optimize human performance. This podcast distills the latest scientific research with what I've learned and blends it with the not-so-scientific field of mental toughness. We are here to build you into a dangerously effective athlete. If you enjoy this podcast, you can find out more about our training at garagegymathlete.com. And if you want to pursue more into the field of coaching and programming, head to endof3fitness.com. Thanks for listening. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. Jerred Moon here with Joe Courtney. What's up, Joe?
Hey, hey.
Hey, and we have Kyle Schrum. Kyle, how's it going?
It's going well.
And I don't have a lot to, announcements-wise. Okay, we're going back to blueberries. Somebody tagged me on Instagram on all the benefits of blueberries, and they're like, hey, man, you need to get back on the blueberry train. I consume a lot of blueberries every day, so that's the official sponsor for today. It helps you in so many ways. Rhyming on the podcast every day. There it is. All right. Also, we've had a lot of submissions for the AMA, so garagegymathlete.com/AMA if you want to submit topics, whatever. Diving into those things, a lot of them, a lot of good questions, a lot of personal questions, a lot of great stuff, and I'll be getting through all of that. I guess when you open and ask me anything, people will truly ask you just about anything. But I'm going to answer them all. I'm going to answer them all. So we'll get into that, and that'll be some new content coming on the podcast. But if you want to submit some more questions, topics, ideas, anything like that, go to that link I just mentioned. And then lastly, Killing Comfort book, killingcomfort.com. If you sign up for the pre-release there, which we had a lot of people do when I announced it previously, you'll be on the early bird list to get notifications about what I'm doing with the book, when it's coming out, and all that good stuff. You guys have any announcements? Anything going on you want the world to know about? The Garage Gym Athlete world? No. All right. Then let's get into updates. We'll start with you, Joe. What's going on in your world, man?
I'm enjoying my bike, my new spin bike. It's easy to mix in for either warm-ups or rest day workouts. And then like Sunday, we didn't work out this past Saturday because we were out and about doing things, checking things off of our San Diego bucket list. So Sunday, football Sunday, and I'm not going to miss football. So I was able to park the bike right in front of the TV screen and watch football and do my bikes.
There you go.
It was a good time. Yeah. And something that's, I'm just going to put it out there for possible other athletes that are on our programming, maybe hard to kill track, but it's all kind of doing the same, similar supersets and stuff. I've noticed I've gained like two or 3 pounds this cycle for some reason, and I'm still training 5 days a week. Nutrition's the same. I actually calculated I did like a progress check, weighed and calculated my macros, and I was pretty much dead on, even under my calories, completely even across the board through the macros, but I've still put on a little bit. So I don't know if it's just because of these supersets, all the new movements going on, new muscles that aren't getting used to being worked, or what?
A lot of hypertrophy this cycle. You're getting yoked. That's what's happening. Yeah,
it's like I'm taking creatine again or something, but I'm not. So I thought I was just, I don't know, just gaining weight, but we'll see how it goes out. But I'm still training at least 5 days a week throughout the cycle.
Yeah, we'll just train more and eat less. No, I'm kidding.
Dude, go faster.
Faster.
Go faster. Yeah.
What if I eat faster?
Well, without are you concerned about the weight gain, or are you like, hey, is this muscle? Like, what's the deal with it?
I'm indifferent right now.
You don't know where it's at.
Way it's going. I'm not sure where it's going. I don't like to see the scale going up so quick, but then it's like, well, I don't really know if it's where it's going or what it is. So, especially because I'm still doing the cardio and I'm still, if anything, in a caloric deficit.
So I'm the 180 of that. I'm losing weight and I'm trying to stop it.
We'll get to that in a minute, later on.
I saw 179 on the scale for the first time since college. And as someone who was a very, a main driver in me starting fitness was to gain muscle and get bigger. Back in the day, I still struggle with the mental side of like, getting too low on the scale, and anything below 180 to me is too low. I don't like it. So that's just it's where I'm at. But that's not my update. I want to go to Kyle's updates.
I don't really have any updates. Just getting ready for the Spartan race next month. That's what I'm a strength guy. I like the strength track more than anything, and so it's kind of killing me to be on hard to kill, ironically. But
dude, this Spartan race is gonna be madness.
Yeah,
I was just thinking about it the other day. So I took off a lot of time from running, other than Murph. I took off a lot of time from running to make sure my knee's 100%, and I've still been doing that because I've been juggling this. Like, hey, should I pick up a lot of running volume now that my knee's better, but possibly injure my knee by going too much volume too fast? And I was like, no, I really shouldn't do that. I should probably just keep things about where they're at, and then just basically kind of suffer during the Spartan race. That's what's going to happen because I just haven't been throwing in as much running volume as I could. And so it's a half marathon. It's up a mountain. The weather's probably not going to be great. I mean, it's just all the right combinations for just absolute awesome opportunity to build mental toughness. For me, at least. Hey, you guys will be there. We'll all be together. It'll be solid.
It'll be a Garage Gym Athlete collective suffering.
Yeah, and we'll look cool in the process.
Yeah,
we will all look.
I did get my my new jersey. My skin tight. Jersey. Being some more insecurity and things like that. Yeah.
A lot of people have been talking about the skin tightness of the jersey. Joe, did you get yours?
Yeah, I got mine about a week or two ago.
How you feeling about it? Good.
I'm fine. I mean, I don't really care about compression or tight fitting things.
Yeah, I mean, you want tight fitting for a race, though.
Yeah, that's what I wore for our first one. I think was and that was the whole reason.
Yeah. So it'll be good. Okay. Updates from me, real quick. One, and we're gonna talk about this a lot more, so it's gonna be a quick update. I started a vegan experiment where I went 100% vegan. I did it for a week and then I quit, and we'll talk about why. I was going to do it longer, but I quit, and there's a very specific reason. So if you are very interested in why I went vegan for a week and stopped, and it wasn't, my reason for stopping was not like, oh, I need a piece of meat, or, oh, this diet's stupid. It was a very specific reason, and I'll let you guys know later in the podcast. Second thing, my kids just finished their first Spartan race here in Texas. It was really, really awesome. Also hilarious because we drove an hour and a half, almost 2 hours to get there. We were basically late, and by late, I mean we weren't early. Like, we ran to check in, ran straight to the race, and the kids' race is like the furthest thing from the entrance. And then immediately, like 15 seconds after they got in the group, the race started. So it was just like kind of like a stressful, like, run from my house, drive, run, sprint to get there. And then they finished the race in 7 minutes, and then we were done. And I wasn't racing or anything, so it was just like, well, all right, let's get back in the car and head on home. But yeah, I mean, it was a really cool experience for them. I definitely want them to do it again. They might do kids race in North Carolina when we're there next month. But my wife would have to facilitate, so she's thinking about it right now, making sure they get through that. But they did the half mile, which is the 4 to 6 year old, and one of my boys is 5, the other 7. But I wanted to start them both there. I think they both could easily handle the 1 mile race. The half mile was probably too easy and not long enough. It wasn't really super challenging for them. They had fun, but like I want them to do the 1 mile version, because even they were like, when they finished, they're like, is that it? Do we do it again? Like, that was it, like. So I want them to do the little bit longer one next time if they do it. But super cool experience. If you have kids, I highly recommend, when they're the appropriate age, to go take them, get dirty, build some mental toughness, and inspire some fitness. I think that's a great thing Spartan's doing with that. All right, last thing. This is a story. You guys ready for story time?
Always.
Bring it on.
Okay, so last week I was at a kid's birthday party, and by kid, I mean my son, 5 years old. He was invited to another kid's birthday party at like this park where they do trampoline park / arcade / bumper carts, like everything. They do a bunch of stuff there. And it was time for the pizza and the cake. That's at every kid's party. And, all the adults are kind of crowded up against one side and all the kids are sitting at their tables. And I'm just kind of standing there and, they ask me if I want pizza or cake and I say no. And this is also in the middle of my vegan experiment. So it's like, can't have it for multiple reasons. And so I'm just kind of standing there with my arms crossed. And then some guy, he sees that I'm not eating. He walks up to me and he's like, not eating the pizza, huh? And I was like, nope, not going to eat the pizza. I don't like to talk about what I do in those situations because it makes a lot of people feel uncomfortable. I've talked about this before, but when you mention like you're a coach, health and fitness professional, whatever, people are always like,
defensive, like right away.
Yeah, they get super defensive about it, about what they have or haven't done and all that stuff, and I just don't like talking about it. Anyway, so he was like, he started talking to me, and he was like, hey, well, guess what? I lost 54 pounds this year by cutting out sugar and salt. And I was like, dude, that's awesome. Congratulations. That's pretty huge. And then he goes on to keep like telling me a little bit more about it. And he's like, that's the reason I won't touch that pizza. There's a lot of salt in it. And I was like, that's like the last reason I won't touch that pizza. But okay, there's a lot of salt in it. And he's like, you'd be surprised how many things have salt in it. And I was like, yes, absolutely. Lots of things have salt. And then this is the surprising part. He was talking about some sort of biscuit he likes. He used to like cook these pre-made biscuits in an oven or whatever. And he goes, those biscuits have 33% salt in them. He's like, so that means 1/3 of that entire biscuit is made out of salt. And I was like, that is not what that percentage of daily value means. Oh man. And then so I was really like, I had a moment there. I was like, okay, do I tell this guy that percentage is based off, a relatively arbitrary amount set by the government, and that's a percentage of that? But he was thinking that everything on a food label means that it is that percentage, that food is that percentage of whatever. You know what I mean? So like if it said 30% protein, he would think that 30% of it is protein, not 30% of your daily recommended intake. And the reason I'm telling that story is because this is what we're up against. And it's crazy. Like I forget sometimes how far removed I am. Like I remember looking at food labels when I was in the second grade, and I think I had a very similar thought to him. I was like, these percentages don't all add up to 100. This doesn't make any sense. And that's very similar to what, there we go with the chair. And he had a very similar thought process. And I was just thinking, man, this is two things. So one, this is America. There's a lot of problems that we have to cover. There are a lot of things that people don't know. And a lot of times we can speak even in this podcast from a point of, I don't know, knowing too much. I need to be more cognizant of what people don't know and try and explain things a little bit more. That kind of open my eyes in that direction. But two, I'm not making fun of this guy. Like he lost 54 pounds and he didn't even know what he was doing. Like all he did was he cut out sugar and salt and he lost 54 pounds. Like congratulations, that's awesome. And so one, it can be easy to get started, but also people don't know a lot and they're not educated on this stuff a lot. So it's kind of on us. And if you're listening to this podcast and you feel like you know more than the average bear, maybe educate everybody. But I did choose in that situation not to educate him because I felt like it would have been absolutely embarrassing. Just because I would have been like, that's not what that means. And you're wrong. It was too awkward for me, especially with a bunch of other like parents standing around. I don't want to correct someone. Because it wasn't until that point is when he asked me what I did for a living after he spilled the beans on losing weight and all this other, because he was just talking to me because I wasn't eating pizza and he wasn't eating pizza and everybody else was. And then he finally asked me after telling me that whole story, so what do you do? And I was like, yeah, I'm in the fitness industry. Yeah. And he's like, okay. So, I'm like, yeah, I know something.
I know.
Okay. So I just want to tell that story because those are kind of my takeaways from it, but yeah.
I have two takeaways from that.
Yeah, let's hear it.
So he gave up sugar and salt. So, I mean, sugar, obviously, that's a great thing to give up. But I bet you a byproduct of giving up salt was, he can't eat any of these packaged things. So he probably had to make his own food because he can actually control the salt because everything packaged is going to have more salt.
Yep.
So he might have been doing something right, and he just didn't know it.
Yeah, he went ass backwards into a good situation.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then my last takeaway is, since these biscuits are made up of 1/3 salt, since we need to keep our salt up for our Spartan race, we should just carry around a bag of biscuits, right?
Yeah.
That's it right there.
So I think, Kyle, you on board with that?
I'm down, baby.
Oh, so this is a secret. I won't tell anybody else but you guys. A fanny pack. I was looking at a custom Garage Gym Athlete fanny pack. I might rock during the race to keep keep the biscuits in.
I've been asking for a fanny pack for like a year for Liz, and I still haven't gotten one.
Well, I'll let you guys know. Maybe I'll bring extras.
Hey, I'm already wearing the jersey. I'm not throwing a fanny pack on too.
Dude, give me a fanny pack all day.
Okay. One down for fanny pack.
Yeah.
Noted. All right. Well, that's about all I have. Let's jump into the study. This is a pretty interesting one. I posted it in the Facebook group. It is called the Association of Cardiorespiratory Fitness with Long-Term Mortality Among Adults Undergoing Exercise Treadmill Testing. So there you go. Will you die? And to what extent will cardiorespiratory fitness prolong your life? Is kind of what they were looking at. And I'll dive in here. Let me and I'll let you guys chime in after I kind of give the brief overview. But it was an association of CRF, which is cardiorespiratory fitness.
I think you froze a little bit.
You guys still there?
Oh, yep.
All right, cool. All right, so it was an association of CRF, cardiorespiratory fitness, with long-term mortality. There were 122,007 participants or patients. That's a lot. That's a big study. That's why this study is so cool. And it was done by 6 different medical doctors at the Cleveland Clinic in Cleveland, Ohio. Let's just talk a little bit about what they were doing. So it was a retrospective study to look back on, they were looking at METs on an exercise treadmill, basically. So they had all these data points from stress tests, because that is the only way to really control these. So a stress test is a very common thing that they do in a medical setting to test you for a lot of different things. And so they had all this data, and they looked back over a long time period to get that many patients to come up with their findings. But what I found most interesting was the reason they started the study. They mentioned that the study occurred due to alarming findings of heart problems and athletes, or at least observational studies linking the two. They found arterial fibrillation higher in athletes, coronary atherosclerosis is higher in athletes, myocardial fibrosis, which is predictive of death, higher in athletes. Aortic dimensions in 206 former NFL athletes were bigger than sedentary or normal people, which can also cause problems. So pretty interesting, right? They're like, they kind of stopped the line and started the study because they're like, wait a minute, all these observational studies are coming out saying that basically being an athlete is bad for your heart. And they're like, we don't buy it. Like we just don't buy it. So we're going to pull our own data and see what correlation there is between cardiorespiratory fitness and long-term mortality. And then they kind of came up with their results. And just to note, this was a correlation, not necessarily causation. You always have to almost every disclaimer, throw that in there. But yeah, I'll go into I don't know. What do you guys have? I'll drop it from here. Joe, what do you have?
So this was a very confusing study for me. I didn't quite comprehend it at first. So sometimes I can usually pick up a lot of what the studies are going on, but it took me a while to grasp what was even going on. And I thought how I first took it was doing cardio. The more you do, the longer you could live. So if you work harder, you'll live longer, kind of thing. So train harder to live longer. But if you train too hard, then it could be bad.
Well, that's kind of what they were looking at. Is is that a true statement? Kyle, what was some of your takeaways from it?
It was pretty similar to what I took away. It was kind of hard to, at least for me, kind of a harder study to read. There's a whole lot of technical jargon in it that I'm just not used to. But once I got through all that and got to the conclusion, the conclusion is spelled out pretty simply. But yeah, I kind of got the same idea of, it kind of seems like they're saying, working out and having higher aerobic capacity is good for you, but too much is bad for you. Kind of seemed that way. But again, it was just kind of confusing the way that it's kind of laid out. It's not really laid out for like the layperson to just kind of read through it and be like, hey, this is what this means. But I found out at the end in the conclusion, that's not actually what the conclusion they came to. So that kind of cleared it up.
Yeah. So I'll dive into some of that. So the findings were ultimately there is no upper limit of benefit of increased aerobic fitness. So they could not find a level of aerobic fitness that was so high to where it was a detriment to any person. They found that the better aerobic conditioning that you had, the longer that you were going to live, period. And even they said when compared with the lowest performers, elite performance was associated with an 80% reduction in mortality risk. So that's a low performance, not sedentary, lowest performers versus elite performance, 80% reduction in mortality risk. And this is all-cause mortality. So across everything, they adjusted for all these different hypertension drugs and everything else. Now, they did say they did not find an extreme level of aerobic fitness is bad for you. So there was no like, well, too much is bad. They did leave with hey, extreme levels of exercise and fitness are still unclear. So like if you're talking about a CrossFit Games athlete who's doing high intensity 4 or 5 times a day, no one really knows what happens, but there are theories at least that this might not be good for your heart. Working out in excess like that. They actually linked to some other studies that, if you had to, on the y-axis was cardiovascular disease and the x was volume or met hours per week. They say it's like a U-shaped curve. So no exercise, you're going to be real high for cardiovascular disease. And then the more you exercise in a week, the lower you have a risk of cardiovascular disease. And then they're saying it goes back up, the later, the more exercise you put in per week. So it's not necessarily, because you can achieve a high level of aerobic fitness in 1 hour of training per day. But if you're training 1 hour 3 times a day, 6 days a week, that's different. The volume is too high, and that could be a problem. So the big takeaway I had for athletes, any athlete listening to this, is strive to get to at least a high level of cardiorespiratory fitness. So we're gonna publish this in the show notes. The graph they have for METs. They measured everything in METs. METs used to be, METs is a very equivalent measure in studies and fitness, but no one really uses it that much anymore. Like machines don't really report METs that much. Everything's reporting different stuff now. But if you have like an Apple Watch or a Fitbit or whatever, something that tells you what your predictive VO2 max is, whatever they think their VO2 max is, you take your VO2 max and divide that by 3.5, you will get METs. You'll get your METs. And I think that's going to be easier for most people to do because I don't know of any device that's telling you how many METs per week that you're putting in other than like a crappy treadmill. So VO2 max divided by 3.5, we'll put the chart in there and it's going to list in the show notes where low, medium, high, and elite levels of METs would be for your age range. It's very indicative of VO2 max, but it's going to show you. I looked at it because I wanted to see where I was at, and I'm in the high. I'm not in the elite for cardiorespiratory fitness, and so I'm like right on the cusp between high and elite. So really interesting. And so my takeaway for everybody would go look at this chart. You go to into3fitness.com, go to the blog, and you can check out this chart. I think Joe's doing the math on his right now, and then you can see where you're at for your risk. It's that take home. Like you can be like, hey, where am I in this measure? Like, and how much longer am I going to live from it? We'll also publish the chart of the rate. Like it's pretty crazy. Like if you're at the higher elite, the lines are almost on top of each other. But if anything below that, it's a significant drop off between your life expectancy or mortality. So it's pretty interesting stuff.
I am apparently on the very edge, upper edge of high and elite.
Just like me. Yep. That's
14.85, and the line is 15.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like right where I was at. So my goal is to get to elite. I have a new goal. There you go.
Yep. Got to get running more. Yes, so.
Got to get after it. Back to the enduro track it is. Okay, so that is it. I got the takeaway. You guys have any questions? I know we went over a lot of different things there.
No, I don't think so. After it's boiled down, it's pretty self-explanatory. It's just getting it there.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically saying, hey, be more aerobically fit, live longer.
Yeah.
But the reason, like I said, the reason they started the study is very intriguing to me because those other studies, those observational studies saying, hey, being an extreme athlete might be bad for your heart. That's interesting stuff that I want to keep my eye on. I don't think that any of us, or if you like follow Garage Gym Athlete Programming, you necessarily fall into that category because you're putting in 5 hours per week, on the high end. That's nowhere close to these danger levels. But if you are an athlete who's working out in excess, this goes back to the whole the CrossFit and cortisol thing that we've talked about, like multiple training sessions per day. Like, make sure your head's screwed on pretty tight and you're chasing a goal for a very specific reason and one that's not going to shorten your life. Like, if you're okay with a shorter lifespan potentially to chase some sort of goal, that's great. But I hope you're getting paid for it, because if you're just doing it for fun, I mean, you might want to reassess some life priorities, in my opinion. All right, moving on. Veganism. You guys ready for this?
Always.
Yeah, bring it.
Well, to talk about it at least.
Yeah.
Okay, so I did vegan for a week, and I stopped.
Oh, so you did. So I was wondering, because we got the flags up that Emily pulled the plug, and then I wasn't sure if you did as well.
No, I pulled the plug with her, but different reasons. She just wasn't a fan. I'm not going to get into her results because I'd rather her talk about them. Maybe we'll have her on because I don't want to misspeak or talk for anybody else. But yeah, she did not like it towards the end. I didn't feel that different. So I do want to get any questions you guys have or talk about veganism in general, but I want to just start with some basics. So vegan, I think everyone knows what vegan is at this point. Big popular documentary right now, Game Changers, right? Kyle, you watched it.
Yep.
What were your thoughts on Game Changers? I watched it as well. Joe refuses.
Well, I kind of take Netflix documentaries with a grain of salt, no matter what it is. No matter what it is that they're doing a video on, they have a reason for doing it. And especially stuff like this, that's such a hot button issue. And has been a hot button issue for a while. There's a lot of agenda behind everything. And so I just feel like you have to go into it with a grain of salt and kind of be skeptical of the things. Don't just take things at face value. But I think my biggest takeaway was in that documentary, they focused almost exclusively on elite athletes.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Which, I get the thought process behind that. We need to show people that you can perform at a high level and be vegan at the same time. And so I get what they were doing with that, but they're also kind of wrapping it up in this idea that veganism is the only thing that anybody should be eating. That tends
to be the vegan mindset. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's better for the planet, and all these other, things that I just really don't fully agree with that. And just when it comes to nutrition, especially, I feel like it's just so individualized by person that anytime I hear somebody saying, well, this is the one thing that you should be doing and that everybody should do, then that's when I just kind of back off and I'm like, okay, let's take it easy here, because I just feel like, and just in my experience coaching, as limited as it is, there's no two of our athletes that are on the exact same thing, that are doing the exact same thing nutritionally. You know what I mean? And so just whenever you got something like that, that's saying like, this is what absolutely works every time and it works for everybody and everyone should do it, then I'm just kind of like, all right, let's back off here and let's be really skeptical about that. And so anyway, and also my point about elite athletes is they didn't really show many people that are like people who are not elite athletes. You know what I mean? Like the main guy, James Wilkes, they talk about his dad and his dad kind of getting onto a vegan diet, you know, and it helping him with his heart and things like that. And they showed one station of the New York Fire Department, like all the firefighters in that one station, you know, kind of agreed to do this week-long thing of, you know, a vegan diet for a week. And then, you know, it kind of showed their numbers and how they changed and stuff like that. But that was like pretty much it as far as like normal people. You know, the rest of it was just elite performers, you know, that are trying to dial things in like to the nth degree, you know, just to get that slight edge over competition. And that by itself, I think is just kind of, it kind of shows like maybe this actually isn't for everybody. You know, maybe it's just something that, you know, these few elite performers that need that slight incremental edge, you know, are using to help them, which again, it has some validity, but I feel like it's a little misleading, making people think that it's like the thing for everybody.
Yeah. So the reason I went on the vegan train, and only for a week, and I'm going to explain why the experiment was shortened, was I just like to get in the lens of athletes. We have a lot of athletes in our community who are doing plant-based vegan diets. I like to better understand it. That way, if they're asking me questions, I don't just like give them some response. I just want to understand it from a more tactical standpoint. I'm not trying to prove the efficacy of any diet. Like, hey, this does or does not work. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to like live a day in your shoes. You know, anyone who's being vegan. That's the only reason I'm doing it. The only reason I did it at all. And so let's get into it for a little bit. That was the main reason I did it. In the second thing, it was very easy for me to become a vegan athlete, like incredibly easy. Going keto I did keto last year. That was 10 times more challenging than going vegan because I already eat primarily a whole foods based diet. You know, I eat a lot of clean things. I eat a lot of fruits, vegetables. You know, those are just staples in our house. And I don't consume dairy. I already don't consume dairy. And so all I had to do was dial back the few servings of meat I have and eggs. Basically it. And I was vegan. And so that was not very challenging for me to go vegan. It wasn't a huge struggle. Like I know some people talk about that. There was nothing. I mean, it really was very easy for me to go vegan. And that, like I said, because I was already a whole foods based athlete, if we could call it that. And I think the reason why some people have such ridiculous changes is because they're not going from what I went to vegan. And like I said, I only did 7 days. So absolutely no, that's like, I need to do 30 days or longer to really get any sort of like, hey, is this actually helping me? But most people are going from, you're talking about those firefighters, they're going from, if I had to venture a guess, a pretty crappy diet with lots of fast food, from fast food to whole foods. It's like, okay, you were eating, Whataburger for lunch, and now you're having quinoa and, you know, a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Like, yeah, that's going to be a little bit better than your fast food option. So absolutely, the blood test should be incredibly different. And one of my takeaways in doing the vegan diet was, I think maybe everyone should just start thinking in the frames of being vegan, then adding meat and eggs if you're okay with those things, because you know it's very similar to like how paleo, the true paleo approach is like, yeah, eat a lot of fruits and vegetables, but then like have some meat. I've talked about like I don't agree with the carnivore diet. I just can't, like, cutting out all fruits and vegetables out of your diet. Basically, like I can't get on board with it, and that's the only diet I'll probably never try. But anyway, that's kind of my take on vegan. I think I have a lot of respect for anyone doing a whole food based vegan diet because of the amount of discipline it takes and how clean your diet is. I have a lot of respect for you. Now, let's talk about why I stopped being vegan and some of the problems that I had. So I kind of have to jump back several years. So I got into fasting and low carb diets before they were cool, especially fasting. Like before fasting was cool, I was doing fasting. And I don't remember why. I mean, this is before I even had a podcast or anything. And I heard it from a friend of mine. You know, he was doing it for some reason or another. And I was like, yeah, I'll try it out. And I just started trying it every single day. And what I used to struggle with, and this is 100% a metabolic issue for me. This is not something that people have. It's something Jerred Moon has. Is I used to have serious blood sugar issues. I would finish workouts, and if I didn't have sugar, like no joke, sugar, like a legitimate sugar, either in the form of honey or Gatorade or something, right after my workout, I'd get super shaky and feel like I'm going to throw up. And so that was a huge problem, and I didn't really know why, and it started to get worse over the years. And so once I started to got really low carb, and then also started adding fasting, that problem disappeared to where I have absolutely no issues post-workout with anything at all, in the recovery or blood sugar. And it's been proven that these things, a lot of people are like, hey, the only real benefits of fasting is caloric restriction. Well, there are a lot of studies out there that prove that that's not the only thing, but it can also reset your glucose metabolism, and it's not just a caloric restriction thing. So I'm pretty sure that's the benefit that I've seen, is it reset my glucose metabolism to a more healthy level. No telling where I would have gone if I didn't make the changes I would have, but it probably wouldn't be good. And so here's what happened. I went vegan. When you're vegan, it's very hard to get the amount of protein I would like to consume. And I worded that very carefully. The amount of protein I would like to consume is very hard to do on a vegan diet, especially when I am not going to eat soy products at all. And I know Game Changers was like, no, they're okay. I don't think they linked to any science. I think that they just had one like really ripped bodybuilder say, no, soy's not bad. Like it's fine.
Yeah.
And that was it. Anyway, do your own research on that. I didn't want to eat it. So, and that is one of the easiest forms of protein for vegan athletes. So it made it even more challenging for me to get protein. So to get enough protein, I had to keep increasing my carbohydrates, because that's the only way you can do it. If you want to eat beans to get protein or quinoa to get protein, with every gram of protein, you're getting 2 or 3 grams of carbohydrate, and that's just how the vegan diet works. So really, you have to, if you're going to be vegan, the way I was doing it, you have to believe that high carb is okay and low protein is probably okay too. But I'm just not in those camps. And so what happened was I started around 250 grams of carbohydrate, which I was fine with. That got pushed up quickly to 310 grams of carbohydrate because I needed more protein. And eventually I was at 350 grams of carbohydrate per day to meet my protein needs. And then I started reading some studies about how if you're going to be a vegetarian or vegan athlete, you probably need to add 10% of whatever you want your protein consumption to be to your protein needs, because plant-based protein is not as easily metabolized. So you need even more protein, which is already harder to get. And so that was going to push me up to the 400 grams or more of carbohydrates per day. Not okay with me. And that could just be from my long 10-year history of being basically a low-carb athlete. But what actually started happening the last 3 days of me being vegan on this excessively high carbohydrate diet for me was those problems came back that I talked about earlier. I started to have my heartbeats felt weird, like an arrhythmia almost. And I felt super shaky during workouts. I had more than enough carbohydrates. So it's not like I'm lacking carbs. It was more like my body wasn't responding or utilizing or something happened to my glucose metabolism to where I was breaking down. And I was like, all right, anything that starts to mess with my metabolic health, I'm done. Now, let me go back. Vegan did not do this. There might very well be something broken inside of Jerred Moon that I keep in check through my diet. I guarantee, because it just didn't happen to Emily. It hasn't happened to a lot of other vegan athletes I happen to. This is what happened to me specifically. This will not happen to you because you go on a vegan diet. If you had the same problems that I had, that I mentioned, many, many years ago, maybe it could jack up your glucose metabolism. So let me be very clear about that. Vegan did not do this. High carbohydrate, maybe incorrect carbohydrate consumption, timing, something like that. It screwed me up. And I didn't want to jack with that, mainly because we're coming up into the Spartan race. I wanted to do vegan for a month, but that would have pushed me right to the Spartan race. I did not want to be having problems with vomiting or being shaky or crashing. So I was like, you know what, this is a bad idea, having this significant dietary change right before this pretty big race. So I just stopped. I'm thinking about doing it again in 2020 after the holidays and trying for the full month and then documenting a little bit more about this. But that's why I ultimately ended up stopping and not doing it anymore. And that is it. I have some more to say, but I want to see if you guys have any questions or comments on that.
I thought I did, but I lost it.
All right. Well, if it comes back, let me know. Just some interesting points. I do think getting a ton of micronutrients is phenomenal for your performance. Other than the issues I started to have, I didn't notice any like energy drops. I didn't notice my daily energy being better or worse. When I was 100% vegan, there was just...
Were you eating a lot more? Like more frequently, did you find?
So I was still doing intermittent fasting. So I had an 8-hour eating window. I was eating a little bit more and a lot more carbohydrates. I already mentioned that, but man, it felt weird to me to be like, because I'd be like, okay, I just had like a burrito from Chipotle with like 150 grams of carbohydrates, and I'm going to eat again in like 90 minutes with more carbohydrates. It just felt really strange to me. But yeah, I was eating a lot, and I was eating a lot of the stuff. I don't eat a ton of beans, but like we already have quinoa in our diet from time to time, and like cauliflower rice and like all that kind of stuff. So a lot of stuff wasn't that unchanged for me, but a lot more beans than normal and a lot more quinoa than I'm accustomed to. The only real issue I see with vegan, and this is the issue I see with keto or really a lot of diets, is the dirty keto or dirty vegan. That's where it becomes problematic. So when you get into this rules mindset, you're like, I'm only going to follow the rules of this diet. So the only rule of vegan is don't eat any animal-based products, right? Like that's basically the only rule. There is no official rule that says you should only, whole foods and all this stuff during this process. It's like, no, just be vegan. You can go to the store right now, buy 1,000 packaged things that say that they're vegan, to include Oreos. And so a vegan diet can be just as disgusting as any diet out there. Same with keto. Like you can eat like low carb vegetables like asparagus and clean meats and all this stuff, or you can just chug whipped cream and olive oil, and not that olive oil is necessarily bad, but like just doing it just to get calories, and be dirty keto, right? And eat all this crap and just bad stuff, right? So there are good ways and bad ways to do every diet. And that's the only problem I could see. If you don't have a lot of nutritional discipline, or you're not coming from a whole food-based diet, just buying a bunch of fake burger patties and Oreos and potato chips and calling yourself vegan, you're not going to see any of the performance benefits they are talking about in the Game Changers movie. No. Trust me, like not at all. So if you're going to go vegan, make sure you do it the right way. And I think that you could have a lot of benefits from it. Like I was saying, the vegan mindset is just crazy, because if you're going to do whole foods vegan, like you have to think of so many like clean ways to get that food and nutrition that I think it's really beneficial. If anyone wants to do a 7-day challenge, I highly recommend it, because it's almost like a Whole30. Like it resets your brain and how it works on like food. And so I think it's worth a try to like for people to do. You will run into the supplementation thing. That's like the biggest argument most people have against vegan. But you're not going to be getting any creatine for the most part in your diet. You most likely are going to have to supplement with B12. You won't be getting any choline, or very small amounts. So like there are some issues. I didn't run into any of that, because it would take years probably for all that to truly turn into problematic things. But those are the only like things you have to look out if you're going to be vegan. Like you will have to take some vitamins. And then the last thing is supplementation. If I wanted to get enough protein, I did find one plant-based protein vegan that was fairly inexpensive, but still like high quality. And if I would have just taken that supplement 4 or 5 times a day, it would have been real easy to get my protein. But like, I don't want to do that. Like yeah. I normally limit myself to 1 protein shake a day. Like that's my
TB12 diet.
Yeah, I'm allowed 1 shake. I don't want 6 brown rice pea protein shakes. Oh, and by the way, the backer of the Game Changers movie owns a pea protein supplement company.
Oh, shocking.
Well, I think that is something that has to be said too, like just to the general public, because Netflix is just so ubiquitous now that people just like everybody has Netflix, or at least most of the people that we're talking to right now. And it's like another documentary I watched was called The Magic Pill, and it's about low carb, like keto diets and things like that. And it's like in that one, it's talking about, and it actually interviews people who are using ketogenic diets to to kill cancer. You know what I mean? Like to rehab from cancer and things like that. And then the Game Changers, it's like this one, the plant-based diet is the only one is the only diet that's been proven to reverse heart disease. You know what I mean? And it's like, so, well, you can't be keto and vegan. You know what I mean? Like, you can't do that because of all the carbs, that you just talked about, because like vegetables are carbs. So you can't be keto and vegan. So it's like, this one cures cancer, this one cures heart disease. You can't do them both. So which one are you going to do? You know what I mean? So it's just like, I really wish that somebody would just make a documentary or maybe just a 1 hour special that everybody sees somehow, that just says, if you will just eat whole, minimally processed, high quality food, you will be okay.
Like that study that went over.
Yeah, because that's it. That's what it really comes down to. You know what I mean? That's what it really comes down to, is like, it's like with the firefighters, it's exactly what you like. The firefighters here, and I'm not trying to disparage them or anything, but if you go to the Chick-fil-A in Hickson, in my home, and where I live right now, on Saturday morning between 9 a.m. and 10 a.m., Station 22 firefighters are there for breakfast every Saturday, every single week. And I know because there was a point in time where I went there for breakfast every single week. You know what I mean? And I still go there for breakfast sometimes. But it's like, when you go from a really crappy diet to a whole foods, whether it's meat or plants, to a whole foods, high quality diet, yes, your cholesterol is going to go down, your blood pressure is going to stabilize, all of those things. And it's only going to take a few days to do it. You know what I mean? But that's not what they sell with the documentary. They sell veganism did this, but it's like, no, eating good, high quality food did this. And that's just what's so frustrating to me. But all of them do it, no matter which diet it is it's talking about. All of them have an agenda, and they don't show the whole picture. They just show you the picture that they want. And I wish that more people would just realize that.
Well, it's tough too, because I think the Magic Pill documentary I think that, to be honest, the backer of that one also owns some sort of like BHB or some sort of supplement as well. But it's a correlation or causation. Like, do they own those companies because they're so passionate about what they're doing? Like, for instance, Garage Gym Athlete documentary. If we do a Garage Gym Athlete documentary that gets published on Netflix, everyone's going to be like, oh, great, but he just wants to sell you his Garage Gym Athlete membership. Absolutely, I do. That's exactly what I want to do. I want you to come be one of our athletes because I think that I can actually help you. Like, it's not this, like, not some scam thing, right? It's could be, I believe so strongly in our programming, what we're doing, that absolutely I want you to come do this. So that's why at the same time, like, I know these people, like, they might be funded by a guy who owns a pea protein company, but who knows, maybe it reversed his heart disease and like saved someone in his family. So he started a pea protein company, and then he got more enthusiastic and did this documentary and I don't know the backstory, so I try not to judge too hard, and it's nearly impossible because you need funding, right? Everything needs funding, and it's got to get funded from somewhere. So it's something to look at, but it goes back to that correlation causation, just like we were talking about in the study. Is like, yeah, like are they just trying to push their supplements, or are they truly passionate about what they're doing? And that's something we can't truly like get to the bottom of, right?
Yeah. All right.
What do you have?
Yeah, so mine is the whole labels thing, is that you shouldn't just go chasing labels. And some of the documentaries, they're selling the labels, the buzzwords, which is just marketing. And if you're going to do any sort of diet, no matter what it is, keto, vegan, whatever, if you can't do it completely clean, then you shouldn't do it. But I just really hate labels, no matter what it is. Even types of fitness, using CrossFit or bodybuilder or anything like that. There's not one set of labels, because when you get labeled, you get parameters put on you, and then when you do something outside the parameters, it's either a faux pas or somebody's gonna either make a little snide joke or whatever about it. I remember when I first started paleo, people would do that, and it would piss me off. It would just be the most annoying thing. Like, oh, that's not paleo. It's like, oh, well, mind your own business. So I think some of this is just like with the guy with the salt and sugar thing. He might have been hung up on that one label, but he's actually doing something better with preparing his own food, and he doesn't even realize it. Just like with people who notice all the changes with the vegan, well, you're gonna have to prepare probably a lot of your own food, unless you're doing the dirty version. So yeah, I think the biggest thing is just people just worry about clean and don't chase labels.
Yeah, that's what it's. I don't think I have like a label for my diet, like to that point. Like, I was paleo for a while, but I do lots of things that are not paleo now officially, and that's okay with me, because most of my my foods are whole foods and a lot of plant-based stuff. It sounds funny, but I am basically a vegan that eats a little bit of meat and eggs. Like that, and that was the reason why it was easy for me to go vegan. But that's kind of what my diet looks like most of the time, anyway. But I don't. Yeah, there's no real label. I just try to eat clean, like you're saying. That's it. And I think that's what everyone's takeaway. Because if you do go from SAD, standard American diet, to vegan, your health markers are going to be phenomenal.
Sad to sadder.
If you go from SAD to keto, your health markers are going to be phenomenal. You go SAD to only eating bananas every day, your health markers are going to be phenomenal, because the standard American diet is so piss poor that the only direction you can go is up, right? Like that is the only thing that can happen. And so that's just something to keep in mind. Clean up your diet, and that's my vegan experiment. And also why I stopped. Like I said, I'll do it again. I think I'm going to do a little bit more hardcore. I think I'm going to get some blood work done towards the end of this year after eating my normal diet, and then go vegan for a longer stretch. And get my blood work again. And if my blood work's basically the same, then I'll just do what I've always done. If for some reason vegan is like a million times better, maybe I'll look into it and just occasionally eat meat. I don't know. See, I'm okay with whatever. I'll go with whatever my body's telling me, but I don't think it's going to work out due to that whole metabolic issue I mentioned. Like, something about carbohydrates and me not working well. High carbohydrate diet not working well with me. And that's very specific to me. And also, to Kyle's point, nutrition is so individualized, it's near impossible to give anybody a recommendation on anything. But I think we're pretty in the clear in saying, hey, eat high-quality foods. That's it. That's an official recommendation.
I think the closest thing I'll step toward vegan is this week I actually got some beans to try out, because I haven't had beans or made beans ever.
Ever.
I've never cooked beans, like actual dry beans. And I just rarely eat them. So since I have a pressure cooker now, that's actually the best way to cook beans, with a pressure cooker, because it destroys the lectins. So I actually have right now chili in the slow cooker, and I'm going to add the beans here in a little bit, and we're going to see how it goes.
Yeah, let me know how it
apparently
works.
They didn't taste too bad. So
yeah, like another.
I can't believe you never had beans before.
That's
I've eaten beans. I've never cooked beans.
He's never cooked beans.
Oh,
yeah, I mean, I've had beans for whatever reason.
And just to comment on some of the other things, there was absolutely no digestive issues. There was no gas. There was literally no change, like from me being normal diet. There was no change in Murph performance. Workouts didn't suffer. Like there was nothing. Like other than that one issue. And to be honest, that issue doesn't necessarily affect my performance. I just felt different. But I could still go just as hard. But I'm like, I remember this. This is like 7 years ago crap that I haven't dealt with. Like, I'm not doing this again. But I just stopped it before it got any worse, if it was even going to. But there was nothing. There's no difference. I didn't notice anything. But that's not saying anything about veganism or not. It's just I didn't do it long enough to see if there truly was any difference in my results, performance, or recovery, or anything like that. Cool. You know what workout we're going to talk about?
I don't.
It's the workout, right?
The workout. Hopefully I didn't mess it up, but I'm pretty sure Murph is the next workout.
It's Murph, baby.
We've already discussed it on the podcast, and I think everyone knows my advice. So I'm going to start with you guys.
There's articles and full episodes on Murph, so I don't know if we need to.
Oh no, we gotta. We don't have to dive in, but we got to talk about it. Okay, so Murph, Joe, what are your tips, pointers, strategic findings for the Murph workout?
I don't know.
I'm so sick of talking about this workout.
The main one that I've done that people, I don't know how it blew people's mind, or I don't know. Push-ups break up from the beginning. It doesn't matter if you can do 10 push-ups, but like after halfway through, that 10 is going to go down to 5, and then those 5, 2 rounds later, are going to go down to 2s. But if you just start in the very beginning with 5s and then like rest on your knees and then go back into it, then you'll save yourself muscle fatigue later on. That's what I did for the longest time until I was more comfortable doing 10s and then 5s.
Wait. Okay. Got it.
Because if you're doing the if you're breaking it up into 20 rounds of 5, 10, 15, then each round of 10, do 5, rest on your knees, sit back for 3 seconds, then go back and do 5 again, and then you'll save yourself muscle fatigue in the long run to be able to, because that's more sustainable than pushing through 10 and then halfway through having to do 5 and then rest 10 or 15 seconds to be able to do the rest of them.
Yes. So if your limiting factor is your push-ups, that is your advice.
Yeah.
Got it. Kyle, what do you have?
Just suck it up.
There you go.
Just embrace the suck. That's just what it is. You know what I mean? That's just. I've actually only done Murph one time.
There you go.
That blasphemy.
But that's what I had to do. I just had to embrace the suck, and it took me a long time to finish it. I'd have to look back at the app and see what it was, but I think it was over an hour for me to finish it. But yeah, you just suck it up and just get through it. It's just one of those workouts. You just take your mind out of it and just do the work.
Yeah,
that's all I got.
I don't think I have any tips on Murph. I don't have a lot of. Okay, here we go. Murph.
You could also do it every week for a year, if you want.
If you want to get good at it,
get better at it.
If you want to get good at Murph, do it every week for a year. Would be my first bit of advice. I'm trying to think. I give the same advice every time. Make sure that you just have a plan. Breaking it up is the fastest. 20 rounds of 5, 10, 15. Every time I've PR'd, that's how I've done it. I always have this theory that, smaller, like 10 sets instead of 20 sets is going to do faster. I think I PR'd once in the first time I did it for a year, but that was it wasn't even the final PR. It was like the PR before the PR that I did 10 rounds instead of 20 rounds. For the most part, 20 rounds will be the fastest way that you can do it, so long as you're transitioning very fast. The only other pointers I have, if you are looking for a good time, is do the squats fast. And run the last mile fast. And that goes along with my whole just do it faster mentality. But the squats, if you watch anybody, people use it as a break time. You're resting 2 and 3 seconds at the top. And in the last mile, the reason I think you should push yourself there is because if you can't handle a full mile of pushing yourself after all that work, let's go last 400 meters, last 800 meters. Just don't finish the mile at whatever pace you're running. Say you're keeping an 8 or 9 minute mile pace, that mile. Try to make at least your last 200, your last 400, your last 800 faster than what your average pace was for that last mile. That's my only point in pushing yourself in a realistic way. Now, if you do want to just get some solid training in, I think running a quick mile, then doing 100 strict pull-ups, and then 200 push-ups, and then 300 squats, and then running another mile, doing everything strict and really focusing on it. I've been doing that a lot more this cycle than I have previously. And it's a completely different workout. And not only from an intensity standpoint, but I'm actually kind of sore the next day after those workouts as opposed to, 5, 10, 15, where your muscles hardly get a stimulus. But when you're just trying to do as many sets of, as many pull-ups as you possibly can in as few sets as possible, it's a different workout entirely. But that's it. Get after it. But
you can partition as much as you can, as much as you want. And we had official word from Michael Murphy's dad about that.
Right.
BT Dub.
That's right.
Right now, my limiting factors are nausea because of doing squats really fast and then kipping pull-ups. Things just start bubbling around 12 or 13, and it's not good. And the fact that I live at the bottom of a hill, so starting that last mile is horrendous. I walk that first 100 meters because it's just horrendous.
I have to end my miles uphill, so the very end of it is a really long mile or uphill run. So yeah, so miles suck around here.
My mile is uphill on the way out and uphill on the way back. It's really weird.
Like 10 feet.
Like a big mountain climb. No, I don't. I think the elevation change in my mile run would probably be like 26 feet. Because
lots of hills and mountains in Texas.
Yeah. Hey, I've done Mountain Murph in Asheville. It is worth it.
Yeah. That neighborhood would have been terrible.
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, that's it. I guess I'll take it this week. Unless you have you're pressing, anybody's chomping at the bit to tell people why they should sign up for Garage Gym Athlete.
I've given all the reasons.
Okay.
All of them.
I think you should sign up for Garage Gym Athlete because we are all diet friendly. Obviously.
All diets matter.
I don't care if you're vegan. If you're vegan, I want to be vegan just to see what it's like to be vegan so I can help you better. and I've done keto, and I've done paleo. If you want to do carnivore, I don't dislike your diet or say you're not welcome. I'm just not going to do that one because I like fruits and vegetables and think that they are important, primarily vegetables. But yeah, come join us. All diets matter. That's another shirt. It's going to have to be created. Is someone keeping a list? Where's the historian?
Yeah. However that happened.
Yeah.
That's one of Joe's jobs, right?
No,
apparently somebody else's. Apparently it's Trampus.
Yeah, Trampus
Trampus
is,
will let us know.
that's what VD said, that Trampus is the official historian of GGA. But for all athletes meeting up with us in North Carolina, I look forward to it. To anybody who can't make it, you'll catch the next one. But that's it. That's what we have on living longer through training, veganism, and Murph. Peace out. Thanks for listening to the Garage Gym Athlete podcast. If you want to learn more, go to garagegymathlete.com. You can learn about our training. Let us send you a copy of our book, The Garage Gym Athlete, or you can even get featured on the Garage Gym Athlete podcast. Thanks for listening.